day 3.
We're in Wednesday 1.
No question in my mind.
He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix. I don't think it's mentally reinforced.
Praying for safety and
on the defense, talking about it. You better get your ass the ball. You better get the ball.
I just gotta say, when it comes to mortality,
Different.
For sure, and they would have thrown it off because
This guy gets off you.
Father from and I go to bed every night like G man, I promise you that we got a special What is up, Cowboys Nation? Man, your boy Mike Tag here with Kelly K9. We got a lot to get to, so we're gonna do a quick intro. If you guys are rolling in, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, all that kind of good stuff. Kelly is a little under the weather, but you better be good because the Learjet is taking off Friday night, and I'm be heading down to San Antonio for a little Cowboys Nation party. So you better be ready.
Well, you know, I never let a little virus get me out of a party, man. I'm always looking to have a good time. So we're gonna take this next day or so to get the recovery time level up, get my body back to where it needs to be, and come Friday, man, your boy will be ready to go. I know Fred's already got the keg ready, and I hear keg, and instantly my ears perk up like a dog, man. Like a dog asking for a walk.
Yeah. So, but yeah, guys, hey man, we got a great show, and we had to bring out an extra heavy hitter because we got the heaviest hitter coming into Cave, and it is none other than our 2-time Super Bowl champion, Big Nasty Kevin Gogan, the man who slapped the Eagles around a little bit. If you don't remember, I feel bad because it was my man Jerome Brown from the U, mixing it up with him a little bit, Reggie White, all that kind of good stuff, but great time. So we're going to bring him into Cave, and then we also brought in our man DMV coming into the Cave. So we are here. How's it going, guys? Kevin, how you doing, Big Nasty? With the hair.
Mike's good. I'm doing great, man. How you guys doing?
Oh, we
Doing
are
good, man. Can't complain.
We are ready. DMV, you ready to roll? And Kevin told me when I first came on, he goes, I got no filter. So be careful.
Oh, yeah.
You have to know. You have to know that. I just shoot it straight. It was like that in '87, and it's going to be like that until I head out of here.
You know what? I love it too, man. I tell everybody that ever talks to me when they answer the phone, because I say some crazy, just start off with some off the wall shit, and I'm like, they're like, I had you on speakerphone. I said, no, rule number 1, don't ever put me on speakerphone. Ever.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like if you don't want to hear some crazy shit, don't have me on speakerphone.
I have my opinion.
Love it.
Hey, I wanted to just first check in with you. I know the last time we chatted, your 60th. You were going away on a big adventure. I'm seeing some pictures rolling on Instagram. You've got, you're doing some boating. You've got some fishing. You got all this kind of good stuff, some hiking and everything like that. So, what you been up to, man? Besides growing that hair out?
Well, for my 60th birthday, me and some of my friends, we got some boats and we floated the Grand Canyon, unguided and self-supported. It was pretty wild. It was definitely wild shit. It was 21 days of the most beautiful country I've ever seen in my life. It was so amazing going through that Grand Canyon on the water that it almost looked fake. It was so, there's a reason it's like one of the 7 wonders of the world. It was absolutely cool. And I'm following that up by, I'm going to head up to Alaska here at the end of July. And in the next couple of weeks, I'll be in Idaho floating the middle fork of the Salmon River. It's summertime. Let's get outside.
Yeah.
Nice. You said you did that without a guide?
Yeah.
So, he's still here.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. You must have some experience in that to do that without a guide, right?
You can. The water is so big on the Grand Canyon. you know, it's nice to have some experience. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get in it in the middle of the water, you know, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature at some point, and you know, Mother Nature's undefeated. So
Yeah.
you just hope you're lined up and straightened up, and you're hoping for the best at some, you know, most of the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't the big water that was. It wasn't the big water that was scary. It was the smaller. Just it was so powerful. I do quite a bit of whitewater stuff, and it was really, really, really powerful. And yeah, there's a reason there's a hole in that rock because that water's strong.
Yeah. No, I'm actually going back up to my cabin and we're doing whitewater rafting again up in Tennessee. But let me ask you, you're a fisherman, and you know, I've been down to the Keys, and I'm actually going down to the Keys in September. And you know, I always stop at Key Largo and see Jimmy Johnson's place. But have you been fishing with Jimmy Johnson? Have you gone out there to catch some?
Are you kidding me, man? That guy doesn't fish with stiffs. I mean, shit. Not a chance. He probably don't even remember who I am. But no, I don't think I've ever been to the Keys. But you know, I do love fishing, and it looks like he gets a lot of good fish. I see it on Instagram, but that's just I don't get any closer than you guys do.
All right, I didn't know if you get an invite, man. You should be out there, man. He's retired now. He's got time. He's got time.
He's like, who is this?
But hey, wanted to just, you know, we've had you on and we've talked Super Bowls, so we've done a lot of that. But I wanted to bring up an interesting story because I know you got to have some stories around it, and it's the Bounty Bowl in '89. And I bring it up because the '89 season, I've had this ticket stub forever. It's the first win of Jimmy Johnson, and I finally got it signed by him a few months ago. So it made me think about it.
Were you guys fishing together?
No, I haven't been invited either. I've been to his place. I spent money at his restaurant, and he's got a nice little resort there, a little hotel and stuff. But he hasn't invited me there yet. I seen
who was the game against, Mike? Who was the game against?
The Bounty Bowl was the Bounty Bowl was.
Oh, that was the first win.
No, the first win was the Redskins.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The Bounty Bowl was Thanksgiving Day. When they put a bounty on Luis Zendejas because I guess he came to the Cowboys, he got cut by the Eagles, and the Eagles are saying he was talking a lot of shit about him and giving you guys secrets. So, is that true? Did you guys get any? It didn't look like it helped because they beat you 27-0.
I think they beat the brakes off of us. You know what? I mean, let's just be friggin' honest, man. He's a fucking kicker. What does he know? I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, like if Saxon came over and said, "Hey, I got the game plan," you would laugh in his face. You know, no way. That guy didn't know shit. Didn't somebody target him like right after he kicked the ball? Didn't they knock the shit out of him?
Jesse Small knocked him out, and then Jimmy Johnson ran on the field yelling and screaming for a flag of getting him thrown out, and all he got was a flag. But there was a defensive tackle named Mike Pitts that punched you in the back of the head.
Yep, I remember Mike Pitts. Yeah. That was in '89, huh?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I can kind of remember they wore those funky green jerseys. Man, Zendejas, they ran him out of Dallas too. I remember that Jimmy got pissed at him later on in life and during the 110s and kicked him on the other field, and he said he had asthma. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh, was that the asthma field thing?
I think that was the asthma. You know, Bob
shit.
Ackles,
Yeah, I remember that.
Bob Ackles was like the pro personnel guy. And, you know, I mean, as a kicker, you should show up in shape because you don't have to do shit, you know,
Right.
to come in there and not be in shape. Luis Zendejas was a freaking little fat dude, you know. He wasn't thin. He wasn't thin. Hey, you know what? When you're 330 pounds, you can call anybody fat you want. And and you know what's great now in life? is you see these running backs and kickers, and they're all fat now, and I like to give them shit, and so I'm never going to take an opportunity and pass that up.
No, I was wondering in that game though too is did Troy Aikman take offense because they only had a $500 bounty on Troy Aikman that game and 2,000 on the kicker.
You know what? Most of that shit came out afterwards. You never knew what to. Was that the year that he choked on the chicken bone?
I know he got annihilated, 11 sacks.
Oh no, that was another day. I remember that day very clearly too. I think that was 11 and a half.
Somewhere.
So let's not forget that half. No, but I thought Buddy Ryan choked on a chicken bone one year.
That one I don't remember. That was the game where Jimmy Johnson went to the in the press conference. It was the famous line where he said, "I was going to say something," but he took his fat butt back to the locker room, and Buddy Ryan came back and said, "Hey, man, I've been on the diet. I'm losing a few pounds, and this guy's calling me fat. I'm thinking I'm looking pretty good." So it was they hated each other, I guess, after, that was a little bit of a rivalry. But it was just funny looking back at that time.
I haven't thought about that in a long time. I mean, now looking back at it, that was some funny shit. Yeah. I mean, we weren't very good. I mean, we were on the cusp of starting to turn it around, but I mean, we were just, we were taking some punches for sure.
Yeah, and you worked your way up, and I know DMV. You and I shared some stories because I don't know if you know it, Gogan, but I played a couple of your clips from one of our shows, and it was on Emmitt Smith. That kind of got a lot of run and got talked about throughout the community. Troy Aikman was one of the other ones, and I still use this line to this day. Is he's a gold jacket. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer like he should be. And if anyone don't like it, they can go fuck themselves. That's what you said. And I use that quote almost every week. So
it's a good quote.
DMV. I mean, like, how could you even argue this? I mean, is there other great running backs, right? I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, how could you even argue that? I mean, it's like, I get it. I saw it firsthand. I've probably told you guys this before, but when Emmitt held out, they tried to sit there and just blow shit up our ass, telling, "Oh, it's not Emmitt, it's you guys." And
it sounds familiar.
Derek Lassick or somebody like that was the running back, and I know Derek Lassick. You know what he wasn't? He wasn't Emmitt Smith, and and we had the same blockers, and it was like 25 yards the next game. And then Emmitt shows up, and it's 225 yards. The guy was friggin' amazing, and the only change in that whole situation is the running back. So sit here and tell me that guy wasn't the greatest one of the greatest running backs of all time. Of course, I'm biased on that, but I think it's just ignorant to say when you lead the NFL in rushing that you obviously did something amazingly correct. And, he has to be in every single conversation about that. I just happen to think that it's not a conversation.
Yeah. And I have a question regarding that, because a lot of people feel like Emmitt just ran behind super holes, like everything was just like a truck, like a size of a truck that he ran through. What was it that made Emmitt special? Now, me personally, I thought it was his vision and being able to set things up beforehand and look at things pre-snap. But what do you think it was that made Emmitt special?
Well, that's a really good question. I think it's a couple of things. When you see, as an offensive lineman, when you see a guy that's just special like that, and you're a young team and you're a dumb team, and and all of a sudden his game is improving your game, right? And so that just on confidence alone, I mean, you went from getting 80 yards rushing to game to one dude's getting 125. And it's like, whoa, okay, maybe we're not as shitty as we thought we were as in 87, 88, 89. And then, your confidence rises. You bring in some good offensive line coaches. You bring in, there was obviously Mark, myself, and Nate were, basically in the free agent end of things, but they brought in Stepnoski, which arguably, top 10, all-time centers for the Cowboys, if not top 5. And then you brought in Eric Williams, which, I can't say enough good things about. And all of a sudden, you're coming off the fucking ball, man. I mean, it's like the system that they put in for us was pretty much foolproof. And if you bought into it, I'm talking about offensive line wise. If you bought into like HUD's system of, zone blocking, come off the ball, double team, and, if you happen to run through as a linebacker, you're going to get fucking hammered. It just encased everything. If they pinched, you were set. If they played straight up, you were set. And at some point, once you learn that, you just we came off the fucking ball. And so I mean, like, Emmitt, not only was he outstanding and great, he made everybody else outstanding. Like, I mean, shit. He's there's 3 of us on that offensive line, and John Giesick, that would be 4. That if you got drafted today, you wouldn't get drafted the rounds we went in. So, I mean, we did have 2, high draft picks, but there was 4 guys that were, and those 4 guys, pulled that weight because we had such an amazing running back and an amazing plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It make you feel better, though, just real quick, is I saw in Dallas Cowboy history, you were 8th round draft pick, I think. Were you 8th round?
Uh-huh.
You were the greatest 8th round draft pick in Dallas Cowboy. I can see that. They rank
Does that get me a bowl of soup or anything?
I don't know what to get you.
Special. Sometimes it's got to be something.
Yeah.
Man.
I got another question. Do you guys consider, because I know everybody calls you the Wall of Dallas. I don't know when they kind of coined you guys that, but do you guys consider Moose an extension of that?
I don't. I've never really thought about it. DJ, he was the offensive lineman on wheels. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
I think people forget how, really. I mean, maybe they don't forget. I really don't know. But I mean, he was really talented. I mean, not just a battering ram. DJ was talented. I mean, he was a great blocker. You look at some of those. I mean, he was. I don't see why he wouldn't be. I don't think that it should not encompass him for sure. Tight end. I mean, then we're pushing it a little bit there, but I think DJ was amazing. I really do.
Yeah. But, something I was going to ask you about, Kevin, because, you talked about when you were talking about, you had some different coaches come in. How big of a difference can that make in terms of the offensive line and, their, whether it be run blocking, pass blocking, the scheme? How big of a difference can that make? Because I know that there's been some talk about the Cowboys offensive line last year under Mike Solari. This year they brought in Connor Riley from Kansas State. Cooper Beebe's old offensive lineman coach. There's been talk about, trying to get Tyler Guyton to develop a little bit more. How big of a plus can that be can coaching be for offensive line one way or another, where it's good or bad?
Well, I think that it's the biggest group on the team that has to work together. So if I'm starting out, if I personally, I don't know if this is true for coaches or not, but if I'm starting out and I'm the head coach of a team, I'm putting my best coach at offensive line. Because you have to get 5 or, with a tight end and a fullback, 6, 7 people working together. And so I'm putting my best coach at offensive line. That being said, that doesn't always work that way. One thing that I really thought Jimmy did really well at was knowing who good coaches were, not only just good players. And I would go down in on record saying he didn't know shit about fucking offensive football. And he didn't know, he didn't know shit. Let's just leave it at that. But he knew everything about everything else, and that added up to be what it needed to be. And, I think he knew defense a little bit. I think he was a defensive, minded guy. But he knew coaches and he knew, personnel and, losing Tony Wise, which Tony Wise was a really good offensive line coach, got us rolling really well. But he brought in HUD after that, which was just, he knew coaches and he knew, like there was, there was a lot of hard work, but there wasn't, Jimmy was straight up with you. He didn't bullshit you. He didn't lie to you. You knew where you're at. He didn't need to lie to you because if you didn't like it, you could just get the fuck out. And it was just that simple. And so, he was straight with you in that. And, when it came down to it, you might not have liked it, but you trusted it. And that was really important. So, yeah, they brought a lot of good coaches in. And I happen to think that I played for a guy named Joe Bugle, which I had a lot of respect for. And Joe was the hell of an offensive line coach. But I think Tony Wise and Hudson Houck were, shit.
Yeah.
They were as good as it got.
Yeah, you said something about Jimmy Johnson, and I read up. It's hard to find nuggets on you. You don't do a lot of interviews back in the day and even today. So, but there was something that you were telling a story about Jimmy Johnson, and you're known never to miss practice. You never miss games. You never anything. And you talked about a time that you weren't going to practice. You're like, man, I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not going to practice and all day. And then Jimmy Johnson saw you either in the locker room or somewhere. And then by the end of the conversation, you're out practicing. Like, how did this happen? I was supposed to take the day off. Is that just
I didn't even have the courage to ask him after he started talking to me. I can honestly distinctly remember where I was at. And I had the credentials to get out of practice, because I never missed. And I just wasn't feeling that. But the way he talked to you, if you weren't, like if you were on the injured list, man, you got the short end of the stick for sure. But that wasn't my gig. I showed up every day. I that was, and he wouldn't have gave me a hard time. But I know for a fact that Kevin O'Neill, the trainer, had already told him. But he came over and talked to you, and man, no doubt by the end of that conversation, I was like, he gave you the old, hey, why don't you just come on out and see how it feels, and he knew how to get through to everybody from Charles Haley to Troy Aikman. He knew how to get to everybody, and that's more valuable than knowing an offensive play. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
I have a question about Charles Haley because I always hear about the story about when he threw the helmet. Can you tell us where you were and how, and what you were thinking when he threw the helmet?
Which time?
I think it was around the Emmitt holdout or something like that.
Oh, it lost to Buffalo.
The second game.
Yeah.
Was that Chuck that put the helmet through the wall?
I think it was. I think it was him. Yeah.
He said sign on it or something like that. That was that old Texas Stadium locker room, I think, wasn't that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. That's the same time when they were blowing smoke up our ass, telling us that we could win without him. So I think everybody. I do remember that. I didn't know it was Chuck though, but I do. I think everyone knew what we had, and without Emmitt, we really didn't have that. So
yeah.
I think that needed to be said. I can't believe Chuck came up with it though.
Kevin, something else, man, I wanted to touch on was, one of the big buzzwords this whole offseason with the Cowboys is something that we've been talking about, culture. And it seems like that's just a word that's just blown up and everybody's using. I don't really know if I think that is important, but sometimes I think the word lately has gotten a lot of overplay, a lot of overusage. But Jimmy Johnson, sure. That had to have been one of the biggest collective of characters that I think I've ever seen, back in the 90s, that he got together and created a winning culture. There's no doubt that he did that because the championships, here, down in Dallas, they prove it. So, how important do you think that is? And how do you go about kind of establishing that? How did Jimmy kind of get everybody on the same page?
That's a really, really good question. Let me tell you this. And when I got there in 87, that facility in Valley Ranch was really nice and really new. Maybe a year before I got there. And when you walk in, it had 4 different sections of cubicles. Like there was 4 pods. And then you can walk in the middle where the star was in the carpet. And that was from 87 and 88. And when Jimmy came in 89, the first thing that those dudes did was get rid of those pods and open the whole locker room up. Like, so it was just one big, rectangle and then a wide open middle, but everyone's in everyone's shit, right? I mean, it was, looking back at that and just thinking, wow, man, that was really smart. It just, I was over in a pod with like Ed Jones and Crawford Kerr and, a couple older guys and you didn't even see the other guys until you went to practice. You just couldn't, it was all blocked off. And, that really did change the culture of our team. I mean, when offensive guys and defensive guys normally don't get along that well, but once you respect them and then you fight them, it's pretty much basically what happens. And then the unwritten rule, when it comes off the field, it stays on the field no matter what the situation is. Then you get to a bunch of guys you end up liking. And then, it's not like you just sit there and say, hey, man, I'm going to play harder because I like these dudes.
Right.
It's just the way it is, you become more of a team. And, I really never thought about that until you mentioned that. But that whole opening up of the locker room was a really smart move on his part. And it's just, I hate to give him too much credit, but I mean, that was some of the things that he did were that's a really small thing to do. But,
Right.
the payoff the reward was, I mean, that could have went south. I mean, there could have been a lot of fist fights and shit like that, but it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
I was
No.
going to ask on the culture because obviously, and I know you're not in depth with the Cowboys like back like you were back in the day, but obviously they moved on from McCarthy. They bring Schottenheimer in, great legend son, right? The coach Marty, who was on the staff. And the one thing that Michael Irvin said when it happened, like when they made the move, he said, how can you change the culture when you have a guy that's on staff that is now the head coach? Because how is he going to tell players and change discipline? And the players are going to look at him and say, hey, now you're going to be tough. Now you want to get on my ass. And where was this before? And do you think Shotty can win over the locker room? It looks like he has, but when Michael Irvin was saying that, I think Michael Irvin's starting to come around as time goes on and he's been around them. But is there a difficult challenge for a guy who's been in that locker room that they've said is a culture problem to instill new culture within a locker room? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's fair for me to comment on like how he handles it. I know that obviously I know the name.
Yeah.
I don't know the guy and I don't know his philosophy. But like from the outside looking in and as a former player, I would, and it is the fucking Cowboys, right? I mean, I'm going for broke. I'm not going for, some guy that's already been in the building and no offense to him at all. I'm just talking about personally. It could be anybody. And I'm not going for a guy in the building. I'm going for the best available coach I could get, whether I got to go to college to get the dude or, I got to get him off somebody else's staff because he's the next thing. I'm definitely, it's the fucking Cowboys, man. It's not, it's not fucking Cleveland,
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people, honestly, I think that's what had a lot of fans, so up in arms about it, including Michael Irvin. I think, some of the former players kind of looked at it and they're like, look, again, no offense to Schottenheimer because, as a fan, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that he,
no offense to him at all.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, you sit there and you look at it, like you said, it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's like the New York Yankees of football. Like that's one of the most sought after jobs in the world. You can't tell me that you could not attract the most high profile coaches, the hot name coaches. You could pretty much get anybody you want if you really wanted them. So I think that was kind of a shock when they went that direction.
Well, I mean, you also have, a coach with some balls, right? You get a coach with some balls. I mean, you got to take on Jerry. There's no two ways about it. You have to take on Jerry. And, like the coaches that don't need the money, that don't need the bullshit, then they don't have to come here. But the guy that like Jimmy that had the nuts to say to whatever he needed to say, you're going to be successful. But you have to have somebody lay it out there, and it does. The little bit I know, I don't have the impression that he's willing to stand up to the man.
Yeah.
So I have a question about culture, and then speaking on that, because you guys obviously at a certain point were kind of how this team is right now, where you had to shift culture in order to kind of get up that hill and that hump. How did you guys know you were good enough to win, and then ultimately get over the hump? Like what was that process like?
They told us we were good enough. They sat there and they would literally tell you guys were good enough, and it just took a little bit of spark because we were young and dumb and going hard. We were going freaking hard, and once you bought into what they were selling, you were I mean we took our lumps, but you think about the year we went to Chicago in the playoff game. That was kind of the beginning. Like, man, like, okay, we're in the playoffs now. It's not 3-13 and you're home by, you can celebrate Christmas at your house. It's it is the culture. I mean, I don't really like to use that word because I do think it's overused, but that environment that they had there was conducive to winning. And Jimmy brought in a perspective is if you don't want to do it, then go. And if I don't think you want to do it, then you're going to go anyway. And in today's day and age with the contracts, I'm not so sure you have that luxury to bitch slap these dudes out the front door.
Biggest challenge.
But yeah, it is more of a challenge. But
Yeah.
I mean, you knew without him telling you that every day you had to go hard, and that was just the way it was. And and if not, then man, see you later.
Yeah. Hey, we have a quick super chats. Always want to show love. And the lunatic, he might be a lunatic. He's a Cowboys fan.
Oh yeah.
And he's talking about, and I know you probably don't know the inside on, but Tyler Booker's who the Cowboys drafted. I'm not sure if you know. He's a guard out of Alabama. Highly touted, highly ranked guard. They went offensive line. How could he help Terrence Steele, being next to Terrence Steele as a right tackle? Terrence Steele had some struggles. Do you think bringing in a young, and he's got some nasty to it. He might be a little version of you, as well. Could that help the right tackle if they're struggling, having a solid guard in there in that presence? I guess is this question.
How high did they draft the kid?
First round.
He was first round top.
First round guard, huh?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Well, and just to let you know, one of the things that he said, this is probably one of my favorite quotes from a rookie guy. He said, what I love most about playing this game is watching a guy line up across from me that loves to play football and snap after snap going up against me and watching that love for the game leave his eyes. And I was just like, man, that's some good shit right there.
Yeah, that's some fire, bro. That is.
Yeah, no doubt. It goes back to the teamwork and working together. So, I mean, to have a guy that's got your back, I mean, it usually goes the other way because the tackle is more a valuable position. Yeah. So, usually you hope the tackle carries the guard a little bit. And you can get away with a lesser player at guard than you can at tackle. So that's kind of doing it backwards. But I mean, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's going to go back to confidence any way you look at it. And, sometimes, so there's somebody out there that has your number. There's just no two ways about it. And you get some years underneath your belt, and as a tackle, sometimes being quick and in a hurry is a bad thing, and you just have to, you'll settle in, and if not, they'll be looking for somebody new. It's kind of the way it works.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things and I was thinking about too is obviously, you played alongside Eric Williams, and he's one of those players that obviously had an auto accident. He wasn't the same, but he still was pretty damn good. But he had a run at tackle that was, better than anyone. I always say he was the only guy I see that actually manhandled Reggie White. And I don't see many people that did. You saw Baselli get put in the Hall of Fame. He was a great tackle as well. Played left tackle, so maybe that's going to be different. But with Eric Williams, I mean, do you think he's should be getting more of a look in the Hall of Fame than he's getting, or do you think the years just weren't enough?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good question too. What I think is that Baselli, I do think Baselli was a great player and a left tackle, and but the criteria for Hall of Fame tackle, I don't think Baselli met the time of service. No offense to his game, I know he had he got a botched surgery, I believe, and that shortened his career. So obviously they predicted, I think he played 9 years or something like that.
I think it was only 7 years, but
7 years. Okay. Yeah. And to make it into the Hall of Fame for 7 years of service, you'd have to be, the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. Do I think if he played 14 years, he'd have been? Absolutely. But since you lower that bar with Baselli, then you've lowered the bar, period. And there's no difference between a car accident and a botched surgery at that point, in my opinion. So I definitely think that this conversation should be a lot more fluid, but it's not going to happen for a number of reasons. And I think it's too far past maybe. But I think Eric Williams set a blueprint out for Reggie White that people tried to match that couldn't. I've seen a couple guys come close to it, but and once again, I'm biased, but I played with a lot of different offensive tackles and a lot of good offensive tackles, and that guy was no joke. And I definitely think that I think the Cowboys should mount a charge to try to get him in the Hall of Fame. It goes down with the legacies of the great players that they, the Larry Allens and Rayfield Wrights and the great players that they have in the Hall of Fame. And I think he definitely deserves it. And as I don't think he deserved it before Baselli got in because of time of service, Right. But now I definitely can get behind that for sure.
Yeah. That's why I think the conversation should be had. So yeah, definitely.
But I think it comes from the PR department. I think it should come from within.
It takes someone, like you said, it takes someone in the Dallas media that has the influence to get his name out there.
Well, I mean, there would be a media handler for the Cowboys. I don't know who it is there, but there is a handler for the Cowboys Hall of Fame people. I mean, I'm sure that whoever's working for Darren Woodson. There's just some media guy that connects with him, and it's still got to start. It's still got to start from the PR department, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, shit, they've been trying to get Darren Woodson in for a minute. That's one of the biggest, in my opinion. That's one of the biggest egregious, snubs from the Hall of Fame is Darren Woodson. Because I mean, shit,
For sure.
he's one of the greatest Cowboys defensive backs of all time, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of great ones before Darren got there, and I it's hard for me to say like, okay, hey man, so I have to ask other people. I mean, right. I don't really deal with safeties, and I ask people, and they're like, no doubt, he was legit, and I mean, I knew he was great. Don't get me wrong; it's not like I didn't see the talent, but I mean, to get into the Hall of Fame, you have to have that next level game, and from all accounts, Darren Woodson's got it.
Yeah.
And I always felt like Moose to me was one, like that's why I brought him up, Daryl Johnson, and he's in the media. And I always felt like when I think
that's
about
trying to like
fullback,
get a DH into the Hall of Fame, right? It's just a kind of a. I mean, there's some teams that don't even have fullbacks.
well, I think he's the greatest fullback of all time, and maybe I'm biased, but I kind of feel like
Oh
you're the
man,
very best
you
at your
know, like
position.
you might be biased for sure, but that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. There's been, you know, like Tom Rathman of the 49ers was a great fullback.
Yeah,
Back in the day. There's some, you know, there's been some great
yeah.
fullbacks,
Lorenzo
but I
Neal's a
mean,
pretty good fullback.
there's
Did you like Bar None, who you played with? Didn't you play with William Floyd?
you didn't go back to was he Florida State?
Yeah, that's why I'm Miami, so I don't like him.
Yeah, okay, yeah, bar none. Yeah, I played with that dude. Hey man, he came to play. I'll give him that much. He came to play. I played with Alonzo Highsmith too.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Oh, he was in Dallas for a minute, right?
Now there's a dude that if he didn't get injured would have been, man. He got a bum knee. He got a bad surgery. Alonzo Highsmith was talented.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Did you play against Miami when you were at Washington ever, or no?
No. We played in the Orange Bowl, but not against Miami.
All right. Just checking to see if I know you went up against Jerome Brown and with the Eagles. I didn't know if you met him when he played.
That goes back to that 11.5 sack game. Thanks for bringing that up again, Mike. you don't remember the good stuff. You remember the bad ones, you know?
Yeah.
But
I know.
Go ahead. DMV, you had something?
I was gonna tell DMV. He was talking about before the show. He was gonna ask Kevin about the college thing with the NIL. I wanted to hear.
Oh, with the NIL, yeah. So I was listening to you talk about fishing and doing all that stuff, but I look at these kids right now with the NIL and all that stuff. I know you're probably looking at them like they're spoiled, but if NIL was around during your time, like what would you have done with that type of money?
I would have quit. Man, these kids are driving Lamborghinis at college. Can you believe that?
Hey, they're getting paid big time.
I think, unfortunately for the Sanders kid, I think humbling needed to happen. Where people, that it is getting out of hand a little bit, and but no, it was. I don't know. You don't want to know what I'd have done. I would never have made it to Dallas. I promise you that.
Now, you didn't in college. You didn't get a paper bag after maybe a big game. Anything like that, or no? Your own NIL?
In all honesty, in 1983, you would get. Keep in mind, I was an offensive lineman. I never touched the ball. But you would get like a premier summer job. You would get paid. You wouldn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And that's probably as good as you could get.
Yeah.
But you had to show up. You had to show. I wasn't a quarterback. I had to show up.
We had.
Yeah, I remember working at a car dealership when I was in Lubbock, Texas. I was pretty young, and I remember seeing a couple of Texas Tech Red Raiders. Michael Crabtree was one of them. His name was on there as an employee. I'd never seen him. And the dude would drive around in the badass Hummer. He had a Hummer on these big. And I'm like, does Michael Crabtree actually work here? And they're like, well, yes and no.
Payroll,
Yeah, yes and no. So that's pretty funny.
That's pretty. That was as good as it got. I mean,
Yeah.
And now it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah. And now you're getting these kids that are getting $1 million deals. I mean, even for some of the ones that are not that great. I mean, you get some of the middle of the pack guys that are still getting me. I think I know our University Tech just paid $1 million to their softball pitcher, which is crazy.
I did see that. Yeah, but that kid's good too.
Yeah.
Oh, she's outstanding. But I mean, still $1 million to softball. Who would have ever thought that?
You should have played in this era, Gogan. Miami just paid a kid out.
Hold on, I'm on that softball question still.
$6.5 million this kid got. $6.5 million a kid out of high school got from Miami to play line.
Offensive line?
Offensive line.
What happens if he blows his knee out?
Nah, I guess he has $6.5 million.
Hey, he paid, bro. He paid.
Wow.
It's crazy, but someone
I
else.
got 1 year of eligibility left, I think.
Did you love college more than pros? Like, did you have more of a love playing college football than pro? You see a lot of these guys. Like, I look back at Miami and Michael Irvin and Andre Johnson. They all go back to the university to this day, and they just bleed their college colors. And it just seems like there's a true love that they have for their university. Did you have more joy playing in college than the pros, or no? It didn't matter.
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, I've never been one of those. It goes back to being an offensive lineman. I don't think they really care to have you back. It's better to have Michael Irvin back and some quote unquote skilled players.
Yeah.
And they don't take up as much room on the sidelines. So, but they do invite you back here at Washington. But I'm not really into it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do know is you have some stories, and the Lunatic asked, "Is there a funny offensive line coach, story that you had during your playing career?"
I'm ready for this one.
I mean, there's a lot of them for sure. Offensive line stories. I'm just going through the Rolodex in my head really quick. Hold on.
Offensive line coaches have no filter, just like you have no filter.
No. I'm not worried about that. I think my favorite offensive line deal that we did, and it happened quite a bit when Tui would go behind HUD, and HUD had a bald head, but he also had the projector in the middle of the room, right? And and the lights were out, and we're watching film, and Tui would get out of his chair and kind of sneak up behind HUD, and he would like spit shine his head, and like he'd pretend he was spitting on his head, and he would shine it with his towel, and then he'd look at like he'd be like 4 inches from the back of his head. And then that happened quite a bit. He would, he'd mess around with him. HUD had no idea. And then one day, oh man, this is so funny. One day, Tui gets up and he's looking at the back of HUD's head. The lights are out. And we used to have like these gray, like long underwear and like a t-shirt. And you used to wear those around all day until you went to practice and you put your gear on. And so Tui was behind HUD. HUD was facing forward, and Tui pulled his pants down, and he was about to shine HUD's head with his ass, and I couldn't. I was dying, right? I was totally dying. And when he did that, I shoved Tui. I wanted Tui's ass to hit HUD's head, right? and you have to understand, Tui. He was incredibly lucky. I mean, obviously not to the end of his life, but he was incredibly lucky person. He never got caught for doing anything. And when I shoved him, somehow, even though he was 3 inches away, his ass from HUD's head, he did not hit HUD's head. And I don't know how it happened.
Sounds like talent to me.
Because but in the commotion of me shoving him, HUD definitely caught on. He knew something was up, right? I mean, I was shoving a 310-pound man, And so, he kind of looked at us, said, I don't know what he said, and we just kind of, didn't say anything back to him. And then that afternoon after practice, HUD had dragged that whole machine onto the back wall, and he was sitting against the back wall. So he knew what was up. He definitely knew what was up, but HUD was cool, man. HUD was cool. I still talk to him today. He's a great dude. And man, he was one of all my coaches, he was one of the most solid people. He really did care, and that makes a difference for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And talking about stories, so we had Crawford Kerr on. So I just want I just want the stories. If he's telling these stories, are they 100% accurate? Can we take it to the bank of he was Randy White wanted to fight, said stop the limo.
I've heard that before. I'll tell you this: that Big Daddy is one funny dude, man. I've been thinking. Oh, like I don't know if you guys knew that Tom Rafferty had passed away. In the last week. Tom was,
Did you hear that?
I caught the end of Tom's career, and it's like the old lion in the field. Sooner or later, some of the younger kid's going to come kick your ass, and that happened to Tom, and I think the younger kid was Crawford, and you asked Crawford about how they usually, I was a rookie. I just kept my mouth shut, but Crawford and Tom used to go at it pretty good. And I always had a good time. And so when Tom passed, and I was thinking about how him and Crawford, they were going at it, and it was pretty funny stuff,
Yeah. Crawford's doing really good down here. He lives not far from me, and he sold all his businesses, his restaurants and stuff. So he's got a nice crib on the beach, man. He's doing all right.
That's another guy that doesn't invite me down there. Him and Jimmy.
Crawford should. He told me. He said we make it happen. You get down there, so I'll bust his ass. But is that lie story correct? Is that lie story that you told back?
Man.
That is true.
Did he tell you that, or did I tell you that?
No, he told us that. He said,
"Yeah, that's true. It burned a hole in his leg and his mouth." Yeah, it's true story. I mean, did he tell you about why we were doing that?
He had a drug test.
I was already a 2-time loser, so I was clean, and man, that was the funny part about it to me was like when I gave him the idea to put the lie in his pocket, he's like, "Man, big man, that's so goddamn smart." You know how he has that accent. He's like, "That's so goddamn smart." But when it was all said and done, and I'm looking over at the table and he's declaring the drugs that he's on, that doesn't mean they're bad things. Like you have to tell him if you're taking anti-inflammatory. You had to tell him everything,
Yeah.
And I'm over there looking at Crawford, and I can see him shoving his finger in his mouth and then rubbing his leg. And by the time we got outside after we declared our drugs, he had a hole in his friggin' tongue, man. He had a hole like right in the middle of his tongue, and he had a hole in his leg.
Oh my God!
Because he was sweating so much, that lie just ate a hole right through his skin, And by the time when he went into that thing, I was the smartest guy in the world. And by the time I came out, I was the dumbest bastard ever to live. All within 30 minutes, man. It was awesome.
He said the guy kept watching him, so he couldn't like maneuver the urine and to do everything.
What happened was it was me, Crawford, and Everson Walls, and these guys are from the Smith Klein. They were in the white capes, and Everson Walls said, "Quit looking at my dick," he told the guy, and those guys are so paranoid, right? They're scared of you anyway. And when he said that, all the guys in the lab coats, they all got nervous and turned around, and then Crawford pulled out. It was a Rogaine bottle. Because Crawford was losing his hair, so he's using Rogaine. So I pissed in the Rogaine bottle for him, and then we heated it up in the sink in the morning, and then he squeezed it in there. I saw him do it, and I thought we were set until that lie tore a hole in him. And we had a good time. We had a good time. I mean, it was fun.
I'm sure that's probably not the only time that somebody from the Cowboys back in the 90s was trying to trick a drug test.
I don't think so. No, I would. It's a safe bet.
No, the White House was the infamous White House. You never hung around the White House, right? You stayed away.
I'm pre. I think it was there, but I didn't go.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. Yeah. Once again, man, offensive linemen aren't good at the parties,
No.
Not that we're not good at partying.
Looking at defensive guys, you dominated your share, but I was looking back at some of your videos, just catching up, and I forgot you played with the Raiders. You talked about Joe Bugle. So you had and I always bring Miami guys up, so I apologize, but you were lining up against Cortez Kennedy and Jerome Brown. Were they two of the best D tackles, or was there anyone else? Neil Smith probably dominated you. Did he dominate you, Neil Smith, or no?
You trying to set me up here, Mike? You know, I played. Well, Russell Maryland was a Miami guy too.
Yeah.
Willie Lee Broughton was a Miami guy. Do you remember Willie Lee Broughton?
Yep. Yeah.
Willie Lee played I played with Willie twice. But Jerome Brown to me was. We go back to somebody has your number, right?
Yeah.
I think Jerome Brown had everybody's number. I mean, he was just. I mean, honestly, as good as I've ever seen. And the best part for me was he didn't play hard every play. He didn't go hard every play. But I mean, you know, you got Warren Sapp, who's, you know, freaky, and then you got Jerome Brown and those, you know, and Bryant Young. I top three guys in my era playing, you know, that you look at. You know, then the next tier down would be like John Randall, you know, which is highly respected. But there, to me, that upper tier, that Jerome Brown was, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason we gave up 11.5 sacks a couple times to those guys. It might have been 12.5.
Yeah.
And Jerome Brown was a big reason. A huge reason.
Take your list. Neil Smith, what tier is he on?
You know, he's on the tier with, you know, it's you get the cigarette out in the morning before the game, and then you walk out in the field with a cigarette in your face mask. No, Neil Smith, you know, I don't. You
guys, just to give everyone the story, you guys got in a little scuffle in the Pro Bowl. You were one of I think the only player in history of the NFL to get thrown out of the Pro Bowl. So that's the backstory.
Well, somebody mentioned the fact that you know, obviously that he got a memo that he wasn't supposed to go full speed, and I did, and I have no regrets about it. I'd do it again if I had the chance. I saw him punch one of my teammates in the back of the head, and to be honest with you, I mean, the guy was only my teammate for the one game. I mean, it wasn't like we were bonded, but it was just an opportunity to get after him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a free hall pass.
The Band-Aid sets you off. The Band-Aid across the nose.
He really wasn't that good. He was overrated. I mean, that has nothing to do with fighting him. He really, you know, I mean, when in the big picture of it, no way. You know, Derek Thomas was legit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, you got to double team one of them, right? And it wasn't him.
No. Absolutely. Well, I just love it. And I'm going to be sending you something for fun for you. So you'll be getting it. But DMV, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think there were a couple times that Reggie White might have lined up inside. Did you ever get a chance to play against Reggie? And how did that go?
I did. I played against Reggie quite a bit. And it never went like you wanted it to go. You know, that was some, you know, he had so much game. It's so hard to say. Like, if he had so much game that if your game was off just a little bit, like if you floated too far upfield, or you know, like he would hump you underneath. There's a great story about the Patriots and the Packers in the Super Bowl, and the first half they they double team Reggie, and you know, I think the kid's name was Max Lane. He was playing right tackle, and they go into halftime and they ask him, "Hey, you got Reggie?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got him." And then Reggie left with the MVP trophy. And no kidding. And so, you know, you never had him. Going back to Eric Williams got him.
Yeah, I know. That's probably
he didn't get him. And when he got him, he didn't get him at a tail end of a career. He got him in the midst of the greatness of Reggie White, because he was, dude, if he lined up on you head up, he had a two-way go. If he lined up on you inside, he was going to beat you inside whether you liked it or not. If he lined up outside, he was going to get you to float up field and come underneath with that hump and have a direct line to the quarterback. You were pretty much screwed any way you looked at it. But the way Eric Williams approaches it, and I'm not 100% sure if it was him and HUD that came up with that plan or that was just Eric's aggressiveness. It would be really interesting to know. But I think it would be incredibly cool to know that, because their game plan or Eric's game plan was, I mean, you know, there's other guys and other teams that I do talk to that say they totally followed what Eric did because nobody else did it. I mean, that's how I got moved to guard, Reggie White. You know, I mean, I want to thank him. I want to thank him today for getting me moved to guard. But it was just, you know, I mean, there's people that are special in this world when it comes to sports, and you know, I mean, it wasn't like he was, you know, some guys, you know, you got Sapp. You know, Sapp walks into the Pro Bowl room and tells everybody how many sacks he got off everybody. You know, there's those guys that just talk
Reggie
smack.
probably prayed for you, huh?
Reggie, you know, there was a story that if you talk to him about God, he took it a little easier on you, and you know, but he was such a nice person. You know, I mean, like I never talked to him, right? But he never had anything bad to say. He never had any, you know, he was getting what he needed to get out of the deal, and you know, he never really made you feel bad about, man, I just ran through you. You know, he was just really, you know, a humble, you know, Christian dude that was just there to play the game. That was amazingly talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was special. He was special. So I was going to check, but I was going to ask a question, but it's going to be off topic. So I don't want to change the subject. Is there anything, Kelly or DMV? Do you have any
Go ahead.
questions?
Go ahead, Mike.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say off subject because, you know, I know you've got a beautiful family, and I think you said your daughter's graduating college, I assume, right? So my daughter's graduating high school, and she's going off to college. She's leaving the nest. So, you know, it's a tricky point in you know, in the parent's life. So I didn't know if you had any advice or any thoughts or just anything for my wife and I. I mean, we're looking forward to some more traveling and maybe some free time, but I'm sure it's going to hit my wife probably a little bit more than it hits me, but we'll see.
Well, I have 3 daughters, and the first thing I taught my daughters is no matter the situation, you punch that dude right in the face and then get out of there, right? That's the first thing you do. Like, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you can't split his nose open, right? And so, like, I mean, that is the first thing. Second thing I think is important is, man, get yourself a concealed weapon permit. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of my kid having that. Use a gun. It's like the way I look at it, and what I tell my daughters is like there's nothing, like if I'm 6'8", 315 pounds, there's nothing a woman can do that could stop me from whatever I wanted to do, and that's the beauty of owning a firearm, because that levels out the playing field for a young lady. And I think if you train them and teach them and they have comfort with it, I think it's really an advantage to, you know, obviously, you know, the training is a huge part of that, but I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. And one of my daughters lives in Australia. I don't even know if they have guns in Australia, but my other 2 kids are both concealed. All 3 of my other kids are concealed weapon carriers.
Yeah.
It's just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I don't know what the law is taking them into.
She's going into Georgia, so you could pretty much do anything there. So
yeah.
There you have it. I mean, you know, like it's you know, you can't have guns around. I mean, there's laws and stuff, but you know, there's a reason it's a Second Amendment, because it's right after the First, and you know, let's use it while we can.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to be interesting, you know, for us. My son is older, so I got a son who's older, and my son went to college, but college I don't think is his thing. So I helped him invest in a business. So he's an entrepreneur now. So he's in the moving and junk business with my nephew. They started a business and a friend of theirs. So they've been doing really well, and got him a truck and got him some dump trailers and all that kind of stuff. So he's gonna not wrong.
I mean,
with
if if you're willing to hustle, right? I mean, if a kid's willing to hustle, I saw this thing on this guy made like, those big ass garbage cans you have, and like those big green ones. And he made this thing where like you open that garbage can up, and then you like put this thing in there, and then you smash it down, and so like their garbage goes into like half the size, and it's like $45. I mean, dude, you can run through a neighborhood and selling those things. You can instantly cut your garbage can in size, in half. You'd pay for that thing in 3 months. And if a kid was willing to go out and hustle, there's plenty of stuff out there to make money on.
Yeah. Well, I just had my middle kid graduate, and he started a trade thing. So he's doing like home improvement, like redoing decks and stuff. I told him, I said, that's a trade to learn, son. I said, it's some hard work, but
no
if you
doubt,
learn that,
man.
something that ain't never gonna go away.
No.
It's you always got something to fall back on.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely. I've fallen back on nothing, but I'm good for that.
Well, you were supposed to come to Florida. That didn't happen. Are you ever going to make your way down to?
Man, that was my Raiders buddy. I don't know what happened to that, but I got to go to Alaska here. I got to go to Idaho. I just got back from California, so I'm all over the map, man. This is my time.
I know. You're my inspiration. So that as the older years go, that I'm going to be able to enjoy myself like this. I'm going to learn how to fly fish. I'm going up to learn how to fly fish next month.
Oh man, I'll be fly fishing in 2 weeks. I promise you that. Tell me about that whitewater trip you're going on, Mike. Let me tell me about what river's that.
It's the Ocoee River. It's right on the border of I have a cabin up in North Georgia, so it's the Ocoee River, just kind of like in Tennessee, just on the other side. Tennessee, North Carolina, and North Georgia. They have a couple fives, but mostly like threes. Yeah, so
threes are fun.
It's the one where I don't know if I had told you, but my daughter's boyfriend went on it. He went with us last year, and I sat in the back, and he was up in front, and the guide was like a family member, like he's generational on the river, and I told the guy, I said, the kid right there, that's my daughter's boyfriend. He goes, he's going in. And we flew off, and my daughter was flipping. She got all scared, but he flew off in, but he had him in 2 seconds. He lifted him up in 2 seconds, and he was fine. But
did you guys all have paddles in your hand?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Paddle assist. That's fun. It keeps you busy,
Oh, it's a workout, man. It was a good workout. It was a lot of fun. We do it every year. We go up there, and but definitely want to try, out west sometimes once, like I said, once kids get going.
Yeah, once you get in your own boat, it changes the game a little bit. I like to paddle myself. I would do paddle assist, and I've done it before, but I like my kayak. I think it's so
you just do like a one-man kayak is how you do it?
You probably have the wrong impression. My kayak is inflatable. So it's a two-person kayak, but you can put the seat in wherever you want. So I just put the seat in the middle. I put my gear on both sides of it, and then I just go.
You're not the guy flipping in a circle, like the ones that go.
No, I don't Eskimo roll. No. Once you flip out of this, once you flip on my boat, you're swimming. You're in the water.
I got you.
Yeah. So there's no getting stuck in there, and I'm swimming like a fat kid. Definitely.
Well, man, we've been kicking it for an hour, and everyone, we definitely appreciate it. And DMV, I give you guys each a last word with Big Nasty. If there's any last words of wisdom you're looking for, man, this guy, he knows it all, done it all. He can help your life out.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Life coach. Hey,
yeah.
We need a drug test at DMV. Look at his eyes, man. Damn, dude.
Hey, look, no, I got all these lights right here, man. I gotta keep these. I gotta keep it like here.
Does it say
my eyes are
DMV?
open.
Does it say red on your license?
Does it say red?
When it says eye color, does it say red?
Yeah. It definitely does.
Just checking.
Nah, but
That's good
I
shit.
mean,
Well, I know down in or he's talking about red eye color. I was gonna partake in a little something make my eyes red later, but I'm feeling sick. I don't know if that's probably
Man,
the
yeah,
best
no,
thing for me. Yeah,
that's
it
only
might make
good.
you go to sleep.
Man, not what I got. No, we're not going. We don't
See,
go. We don't hit that until about 9 o'clock. The sleepy end of things.
there you go. There you go.
We're sativa from the get go in the morning.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I need to kick it with you, Gogan. I said, and I just want to say, man, thanks for coming on. As
Yeah.
you're always entertaining and shit, man. I love chopping up with you, hearing your stories and stuff. And man, you're well on your way to having that mullet going. Next time we see you, maybe on the cover of Wilderness
You better look at it,
2026.
man.
You got that.
People are calling me Hollywood right now.
You may be sending some headshots in for a bodyguard in Hollywood movies soon, man, with that haircut, man. But thanks for coming on. I had a great
No
time,
problem,
man, as
guys.
always with you.
For sure, man.
problem.
This is my childhood, man. Thank you for bringing me back to my childhood in all of the Super Bowls and all that stuff, man.
Well,
Thank
the funny part is you guys think that I'm bringing you back, but some of the stuff that you talked about tonight, I haven't thought about in 30 years, so I get a lot out of it too. And I, like just some of the things that, you think about and it's been a long time and it's nice to, sometimes it's nice to revisit those, things we did were funny. And I like thinking about that.
Yeah. Are you involved in the documentary that's coming out on Netflix? If you even know about it, America's Team, it's the Jerry Jones kind of story, or since he had the Cowboys whole thing.
Once again, I'm an offensive lineman.
Just checking.
But I'm saying they've been selling the Wall of Dallas for so long.
My voicemail, Mike. Nope.
You're the great wall. You're the great wall. They've talked about. We're on our third great wall since you. This is our third great wall we have this year. This is often imitated, never duplicated.
Hey, I appreciate you thinking about me in that light, but man, unless everyone else dies in a plane wreck, they ain't calling me.
Oh man, well, hey, Kevin, I really do appreciate it. In all seriousness, I know you have your grandson, right? And it looks like you're enjoying.
Yep.
You're enjoying a lot of time with him.
Mr. Miles, Mr. Miles is getting big.
And I don't know, I'm not sure because you played with the 49ers, you played with the Raiders, you kicked the tires with the Chargers and the Dolphins, but hopefully he's a Cowboy. But I'm going to send you a gift. It's getting made, but I'm going to send it to you. It's for him, not for you. But I'm going to make sure he's a Cowboys fan. I'm going to make sure he's a Cowboy.
Man, you're going to have if you send, my son is not a Cowboys fan. And so I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good way to start some shit.
There you go.
I love it. Niners?
Yeah, that's where, when he was born, I was on the Niners. Yeah.
That's what I figured. All right.
Yeah. So,
well, he's
the other ones are Cowboy fans. What's that?
He's not going to be able to not like this because it would be offensive to you. So he's gonna have to. He might not like it, but he's gonna learn to love it. But more importantly, your grandson is really gonna love it, and that's all that matters.
Hey, Mike, I still run the show. Don't worry, man.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I still run the show.
All right, man. Hey, I
yourself.
appreciate it. I appreciate you hopping in, man. We definitely have to do it again. And like I said, if you ever get in the Southeast, I'm expanding it. You get in the Southeast, I'm gonna get in that Learjet, and I'm gonna find you. We're gonna find you. So.
Okay, two last things, man. Yeah. There's no way that Karen Reed killed that dude in Massachusetts. For you listeners, go check that court thing. And then there's this Idaho 4 thing that this guy killed 4 people at the University of Idaho. It's complete bullshit. Just so you know, remember that.
I will. Yeah. I will.
I'm gonna dig into the rabbit hole now.
It's got a lot to do with football.
Okay.
You read about that shit, man. We got to keep this country straight.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely check it out, man. I appreciate it, brother. You take care, man.
Later.
All right, Kevin.
No, that was a good time. Did that live up to your expectations, DMV?
It actually surpassed my expectations, man. That was fun.
He's a good dude. Fun. He's a good guy.
He has. I mean, his stories. I can't help. If any of you guys missed it, go back and watch the original the stories he had there. And if you really want to laugh your ass off, Crawford Kerr, who played with the Cowboys, he was kind of like pre-Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson got rid of him when Jimmy Johnson came in. You know, he moved on to the new guard. And his stories, that drug test story, the way Crawford Kerr tells it, it is just hilarious because there's a lot more to that story. And then there was a few other stories where Kerr was Randy White. They were all in the limousine, and Randy White stopped the limousine and said, I want to fight. I want to fight somebody. I want to fight him now. And Crawford Kerr, he even does a thing where he takes his watch off. He acts like he's taking his watches off and his rings off, and they're going to fight in the middle of the street. That's how crazy these guys were back in the day, man. I can listen to stories.
1990 Cowboys.
Man, it's like nothing. It's awesome. So, but anyway, it is 10 something my time. So I got to work DMV. I know you got to work. You had a long day too.
Yeah,
Kelly,
yeah, for sure.
So
as soon as this is over, I'm jumping my ass into the bed and going to sleep.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, but I just one last message to, Cuts by Jones is having a Cowboys Nation barbecue. I'm flying out for it. Kelly's already there. He promises he will be healthy. He will be healthy. There'll be no
I'll be
issue.
ready to go.
It's going to be Saturday. And anyone in the San Antonio vicinity, could be anywhere in Texas. If you want to drive, all you got to do is hit Cuts up for the personal invite, and he'll make sure it happens. And we're going to have a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll see you guys out there. And DMV, hopefully we're going to see you at a game. You going to a game this year?
Man, I'm trying to go to that Look, we got some things in the works, man. I've been trying to get Mark Holmes, and me and Mark Holmes are going to try and come out to your
hell yeah
to the tailgate for the Packers week.
That'd be badass. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you go to the I always want to say Redskins. Do you go to the Washington game?
Yeah. So Mark Holmes normally he does the big tailgate. This year it's on Christmas, so I'm trying to figure out. I gotta ask the wife.
That's always tough,
man. Like, how can I get out to the game? So
right.
We'll see.
What time is that game? Is that game it'll probably
it's a 1 p.m. on Christmas.
Oh shit! All right,
I know.
Yeah,
tough. You got Christmas. Yeah. You got Christmas morning, and then a 1 o'clock game. That's tough.
Yeah.
Might have to be a Christmas Eve type thing.
You're right.
If it was Christmas night, I'd try and finagle a way to just fly out Christmas Day, hit it, and then could fly back. But
that's actually so, Mike. Funny story is that's actually the first time that I actually met up with DMV. Was the same time that I met Mark Holmes, and it was at the Dallas. It was at the draft in Kansas City a few years ago. That was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I think 2021. It was the Mozzie Smith draft.
Oh yeah. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. No, we had a good time. These guys had their whole podcast set up in this little bar and restaurant stuff. We went in there and got to do a podcast, little round table.
Yeah.
Well, I'm now that I'm thinking about it, have you been to any other drafts, DMV?
I went to the one in Dallas in 2018, and I think I went to another one. I went to the one in Vegas where I actually met Aisha Morrison out there. I met that was when I met Jay Tuck for the first time. Okay. I met Professor O out there for the first time. Yeah, it was a good time.
I was going to say the only one I went to was Taco Charlton. And if your only one was,
you might be bad luck then.
Don't use draft anymore. I think we might want to stop. But you redeemed yourself. If you were in Vegas, wasn't that Parsons? Or who was Vegas? Was Parsons Vegas?
No. We got Tyler Smith. In Vegas.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. You redeemed yourself, so you're good. So, all right, guys, man, I appreciate it. I'll let you all roll. Everyone else, man, thank you for hanging with us. Hopefully, you guys had a good time listening to some stories with Big Nasty. He's always a trip. So appreciate it. We'll see you guys hopefully this weekend. If not, next week. Peace out. See you guys. Thank you.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.